Hey friends, your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy GM Prep. In this weekly show, I go through steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master while preparing for my weekly Sunday RPG. In this case, I am running a Numenera campaign. We just started a brand new campaign using Numenera, the game system and world written by Monty Cook Games. It is a system that I love. I really dig it, both from, I like the mechanics a lot of the system, but I also really, really love the world. So I'm very excited to be able to run a campaign in this world. This show is brought to you by the patrons of Sly Flourish. If you enjoy shows like this and you want access to exclusive adventures and exclusive previews of videos and all kinds of DM tips and DM tricks and all sorts of great stuff, you can do so by becoming a patron of Sly Flourish. There is a link to the Patreon in the show notes below. To the patrons of Sly Flourish, thank you very much for your support. We had our session 0, so let's talk about our characters today. We have 6 characters, or six. One of the characters had to go and does not yet have a name, so we don't know who that is. We have, one of the things I really love about Numenera is that you build, when you make your characters, you have a cool descriptor for your character, cool description of your character that describes both their mechanics and what their place in the world. We have Baiko. Baiko is played by my friend Pat, and he is a swift jack who rides the lightning. I don't think we have pictures for him. He likes to be in the fray. We kind of said, like, who's in the front, who's in the back, you know, generally, like, what's your play style? And he's like, I'm everywhere. We have Cecilia. Cecilia is played by Sharon. Cecilia actually has an image. She's kind of an insectoid looking person, like a wasp person. And she, the adjective, noun, who, verbs, exactly. She is a graceful jack who wields power with precision. She has DNA from the fourth world, which kind of gives her an insectoid-like feature. But, you know, there's weirder people in the world of Numenera, so that is not a big deal. She has a pretty big backstory. She was thinking about it between sessions, so we've got kind of an interesting thing. And one of hers is that she's kind of nearing the end of her life. And at the end of her life, she actually metamorphosizes into kind of a great big caterpillar thing. So she's coming close to that. So that's pretty neat. Juniper is played by Juliet. That is a cheerful nano who possesses a shard of the sun. And what's interesting is every time we were rolling on like ciphers and other things that she had, they all came out being like sun-like things. We're like, isn't it funny how that works out? She likes to be in the edge of the fray. She's also very, from the initial side, very like optimistic. She's the one that's like, hey, everybody. She's the first one to like say, we should all get together for like a happy hour tonight, right? Or we should all, right? She's like, you know, and she was always like, oh, I'll be the one to say like, let's do the falling exercise, fall back into our arms exercise, trust exercises, which actually resulted in the adventure happening. We have Nakia, played by Jerry. He is a beneficent. I don't know how to pronounce that. Beneficent jack who acts without consequences. That's a little scary. Real name is William P. Jacobs, and is a noble who is out there to try to learn at the real world. So he's sort of like stepped out of nobility and is kind of figuring things out. And he has this like weird device that sounds like an old Nokia cell phone. And he saw that it's like been rushed away and says Nokia on there. Somehow it managed to last 900 million years, probably sealed up in a Ziploc bag or something like that. We have Jay, who's playing Samji. Very cool picture. Samji is a protective glaive who fuses flesh and steel. But in secret, I think Samji is actually a full construct. Beneficent. Thank you. So, you know, he told everybody that this is the case, but he's like, but not everybody knows it. So, old gentle giant built for a long forgotten war, trying to rediscover his place in society and within humanity. Very cool. And then we have Joe, who is playing a meddlesome jack who exists partially out of phase, but he had to leave partway through the session. So we don't have all of his information yet. We don't know everything about that. So our adventure began in this city of Bodrov. He phased out. Bodrov is this really cool looking place. It is a big pillar that's like a big table, right? And the whole city kind of exists up on the top of this table. It holds very few. What are jacks and nanos? Is that a Numenera thing? Yes. So Nicole, welcome. A jack is sort of a rogue bard, right? They are sort of the easiest one is thinking about like a rogue or a bard, right? They're kind of involved in a lot of different things and they can manipulate stuff, but they are, easiest way is to think of them as a rogue or a bard. And a nano is sort of your equivalent of a wizard or a cleric. They're sort of your spellcastery types. Nanos are able to tap into the ancient, multi-generational, crazy high technology that is Jack is in jack of all trades, right? And nanos are able to tap into essentially the magic of the world, which is actually super advanced technology, right? So, and then glaives are your kind of rough and tumble fighter types. So you really think about it, you have fighters, you have rogues, and you have spellcasters. And that's your glaive, jack, and nano. There's actually others as well. I think there's three new ones in Numenera Destiny, 3 new sites, but I kind of ask the players to just pick those 3 because A, I know them, and B, we're just getting to know the system. So the characters began at Bodrov, and they were doing the fallback exercise. I forget what it's called, the trust fall, right? And I'm gonna have to remember all these characters' names. They were doing the trust fall, and Juniper was doing a trust fall, and I don't remember who for. Probably for Samji, maybe. And Samji fell back and hit Juniper, and Juniper fell back as well because Samji is really big, and it crashed through the ground and created a sinkhole, and they went tumbling down these passageways and boom, landed in this ancient chamber that hadn't been opened for many, many centuries. And now they were stuck down there. And that was like, hey, it's kind of a fun way to sort of get involved. And my goal was I wanted to have a small, everyone's worst trust fall nightmare is not only falling, but having the ground collapse under your feet and then everybody falls. It was just kind of a fun way to play off of one of the things that the character said and turn it into a hook. And my goal was I wanted to have a very small dungeon where we could experiment with the mechanics, where you could try all the things out that we wanted to try, just as a good way to sort of get involved in what was going on. And so far it has done so. I don't think they haven't fought anything yet. They're right about to fight something. And then we'll see what the combat mechanics are like. And so, do I have it in here? Yeah, the sinkhole, right? The sinkhole was I used the dungeon generator that is inside of, what's it called? Jade Colossus. So the module, or the adventure book, Jade Colossus, Ruins of Prior Worlds, includes a pretty great ruin generator, right? And I used this ruin generator. Look at this. I tell you, the art in these books, so gorgeous. The ruin generator lets you build small ruins, right? Look at this one. Isn't that one great? I want to make that our little side picture here. Look at that. So I said, well, let me try it out. I looked at it, I'm like, it's probably fine, right? And I used it, and the only thing I didn't like is when you have to roll dice to determine a hallway is connected to a room, and there's so many exits from that room that turn into other hallways. I'm like, why don't I just grab a Dyson map, right? And so normally I would just grab a Dyson map, but I said, let me actually try this and see it works. And it did, and it built a nice small dungeon, which I hand wrote in my scratchy writing, terrible writing with a little pencil, just to give him a small thing. And you could tell it's a little bit of J-Quay style stuff. It's got a secret passageway here that connects. It's got 2 different rooms, it's got different choices. And the idea is the problem, I don't even have an exit, right? So I'm going to have to put an exit onto one of these things, that there's a shaft that they can sort of, that they can kind of get out from underneath. And so they came into this first one, and there was this crazy machine that was like a conveyor with synth boxes that was making things. It was broken. So their first thing was can they manipulate that in order to pull a cipher from it, right? And so they were able to pull a cipher out of this thing. It was, I said it's a level 4 challenge. We did the whole kind of challenge thing, and it was cool to come up with ad hoc challenges. And it was, I don't have. I think some people have trouble. This is something I have to be more cognizant of. I think some people have trouble improvising challenges. This is important for D&D too. If it's easy for you to think of a situation in the world and then quickly come up with a DC between 10 and 25, then you're doing fine. And for me, it is. For me, I just make it up and I'm good, right? And that's the way Numenera works. So, the way that Numenera works, you come up with a challenge between 1 and 10, 1 being very easy and 10 being nearly almost impossible. Very, very close. That's very close to impossible. And luckily, I'm pretty good at that. So the idea of coming with improvised challenges, that's one thing that I think it might be Numenera's strongest trait, right? The thing I love best about the cipher system, the underlying mechanics of Numenera, is that nearly everything in the game, from small tasks that you do to great big problems that you're facing to world-ending catastrophes come down to a number between 1 and 10. And between that number 1 and 10, you know all different kinds of things. If you can build a monster with just that number. I don't need any other mechanics. I don't need any chart or table. All I need to know is if I want to make a level 4 creature, I know that you have to roll 12 or better to hit it. I know you have to roll 12 or better to defend against it. I know that it does 4 damage on a hit. I know that it has 12 hit points, right? I already know like all of the things that I need to build a creature I can do with just one number, right? The way you do like the target number is 3 times the level, right? And that's what you have to roll on a die in order to succeed. So I think that's the strongest feature of the Cypher system. And I keep looking for ways to bring that into D&D, and I can never quite get there. I get real close. There's some good tables in the Lazy DM's Companion, a good little chart that talks about how to take a CR, challenge rating, and turn that into DC, hit points, armor class, attack bonus, damage, and all the rest. And you can kind of build a monster right out. But it's not as easy as this. It's just the mechanics, the way that D&D doesn't... The math of D&D does not allow you to come up with nearly as easy an equation as this one does. CR is not as robust. Exactly. So they got in here, they walked down the hall, they saw that there were a couple different paths that they could take, a couple different doors, and they opened up the door, and inside that door, they ran into a Latos adjunct. A Latos adjunct. Let's look at what a Latos adjunct is like, because they're about to fight one. Here it is. Humanoid automatons possessing a body composed of strange alloy and transparent sphere for a head. Within the sphere is a misty face, one that each viewer recognizes as their own. Adjuncts are sometimes seen in proximity to far more noticeable figures called Latoses, 50 feet tall. Latos sports a transparent sphere. So I don't think there's a Latos. There might be a Latos that's like buried down deep. The Latos supports a transparent sphere for a head that apparently contains a space of ancient importance, permanently preserved and deserted. Adjuncts seem to act sometimes like Latos herders and defenders, other times like servants sent out to gather specimens for study. So in this case, and so it's a level 5 monster, so it's actually pretty tough, right? And this one normally would have 15 hit points, but this one has more hit points and actually does more damage and has armor. So this one actually looks like it's more dangerous than a typical level 5 creature. I may have to modify that because we're running against tier one creatures. So we'll have to see. But the idea is like it's an ancient creature. So in my case, it is a creature that was trying to build an artifact, has been trying to build this artifact for centuries, millennia, and been able to do so, and has been slowly, breaking down. Their mental faculties have been breaking down, and now it has become so frustrated. It only knows frustration and pain. And when the characters come in, it just unleashes that frustration and pain upon them. So now we've got a nice big monster, to hit people. And that's to try it out. But I think I kind of rolled this randomly, right? When I was building the thing, I was kind of rolling it randomly. But I think that this is going to lead into some of the stuff I want to do. And so let's start off by generating a session planning template, because we now have an actual game session today. And today is 6. I don't really need to say anything else because it's already inside the Numenera campaign. So one little trick, a little change that I made to the template is now I have the table is embeddable inside the page. So now when I'm reviewing my characters, I can just review them right here. I don't have to go to a separate page to review them. Little trick that I did for this one. I don't know if I added that trick. Let's see, we can move this guy over here. I will probably add that to the default template because I think it's a pretty good one. We'll see how that goes. So the strong start is the madness of the Latos adjunct. And it is on page 91 of the Bestiary 2. They have 3 bestiaries. Just so I have that going. Yeah, so I mean, that's, as strong starts go, getting attacked by a crazy automaton from many millennia back. That works for me. Make our lives easy, right? So defeat the automaton, the adjunct. Discover the artifact pieces. This also happened from the random rolls, right? So I rolled about what does it take that the adjunct was trying to build an artifact in here? What does it take to build the artifact? And the answer is it takes I rolled it and it was level 10, which means you have to roll a 30 or better to be able to put this artifact back together. The answer to that is the artifact is not repairable to currently, right? Now, maybe they have to find something, right? They have to find something to repair this thing, right? This ancient artifact. What is it? I'm not sure. So one of the things we're going to do today, which I think is important, is come up, one thing that was very clear to me. Oh, one thing I need to do is we need to finish our session 0, because we didn't really finish the session 0. I have let's see, we're going to link to this. There were a few things we didn't do. One thing we didn't do, which is important, is we didn't describe our safety tools. And so I definitely want to do that. Defeat the adjunct, investigate the artifact. I don't know what the artifact is yet. And then escape to Bodrov. And then so they chose a patron. And the patron they chose, we'll get to those big events. Terrence the Explorer, they decided was their patron. So they're going to meet Terrence the Explorer, and then jobs. They get new jobs. And I want to come up with 3 new jobs that Terrence might offer them that may be based on this. And I think, for the first couple of sessions, I think it's fine to just, we're exploring the characters, we're exploring the system. I don't need to have great big hefty plot lines and stuff like that. So we're going to figure out what that is, what those jobs are. We should probably, I guess, kind of do that first. Well, let's see. Yeah. So the immediate jobs are more important than the bigger goals, and probably than a lot of the other steps. So I think we're going to start with jobs. We're going to do that right now. And to generate jobs, I am going to be using my science fantasy generator, which I put together based on material that was in the companion. This science fantasy generator is one of a number of different generators you can find in Uncovered Secrets Volume 2, which is available to patrons of Sly Flourish. So if you like this and you're like, man, I really want that, I want stuff like that, you can get it by joining the Patreon and getting Uncovered Secrets Volume 2. It's very similar to the stuff that you would find in the Lazy DM's Companion or in Uncovered Secrets Volume 1, which is all the material that was in the Companion. So, but it has a flavor in the high science area. There was some other important point I wanted to make about that, but I can't remember what. So we are going to roll on. So we already have our patron. We know who that is. So what 3 quests? We're going to just roll a couple D20s and come up with a couple of quests that a couple of jobs, right? 1 and 13. Find an item or disable an artifact. Oh, find an item, disable an artifact. And let's do one more. 19. Discover a monument. Okay, so let's go back to find an item. What is the item they need to find? This is still the science fantasy generator, right? My items look fantasy-like. A 3, a blade. That's pretty cool. Somebody's going to be excited about that. Find a blade. The monument is 10. A cryo tank. Discover a cryo tank. Find a blade. And the other one was disable an artifact, I think. So that is also an item. 9, let's see what that is. 9 is a sphere. Disable a sphere. Why do they want to disable a sphere? Okay, cool. Where are they going to do these jobs, right? Where do they need to do this? So we'll pick 3, 6, and 15. 6 is a ship. 15 is a portal complex. And 20 is in the Datasphere. Okay. A ship. Disable a sphere in a, let's see. This is cool. What was the other one I rolled? I screwed up. 15 it was. The portal complex. Okay. So those are kind of cool, right? I like those quests. Let's get some details of the ship, the portal complex, and the ship probably needs some details. So we can use these condition description and origin ones. I think are really pretty cool. So we'll do the ship first, and we'll do 3 rolls. I need a third D20. I'm gonna go get a third D20 and add it to my box here because I'm rolling 3 a lot. That is a 15, 20, and 3. 15, a cracked, moss-covered machine ship. Cracked, Cracked moss-covered machine ship. There is a blade. The portal complex. 2, 2, and 13. An acidic, ancient, otherworldly portal complex. Pretty cool. Discover a cryotank in a datasphere. I don't know if this is going to work on the datasphere side. We'll find out. 17, 13, and 5. Glyphed, encapsulated, avian datasphere. I don't know why the avian part comes in. And so the other thing is you can use these conditions, descriptions, and origins for the objects as well. So find a blade. What about this blade? The blade is a transparent colossal aquatic. I don't like colossal, but I like transparent aquatic. And let's try a different condition. 2, ancient. All right, sure. That's pretty cool. I like that. Quest feels pretty filled out to me, right? Disable a sphere. So what about this sphere? Let's learn more about this sphere. 14, 15, and 18. Crystalline, cracked, reptilian. Lizard people. Crystalline, cracked reptilian sphere in an acidic, ancient, otherworldly portal complex. I mean, so there's like this reptilian angle, and the acid part kind of sounds interesting, right? And then about the cryotank. What would be, man, this is going to be scary. 16, 6, and 11. A nano-laced, swarming nanobot. Wow, nano. Nano-laced nanobot cryotank in a glyphed encapsulated avian datasphere. I could get behind these, right? So I think I've rolled enough to figure this stuff out. So the idea that like Terrence the Explorer said that there is an artifact out there. It is a ancient transparent. It's a blade of there is a. How would he get word? I guess like an ancient text, right? Let's break this down. So describes this was captain of a ship able to fully submerge underwater, led by a captain known as, we'll just grab a name, Captain Aramis. And let's give him another name, Aramis Greystone. He wielded a blade made out, and we said it's a transparent aquatic blade, a blade made of water, flowing water. Terrence learned of the location of this sunken ship nearby. Asks the characters to recover the blade. That's cool. All right, that's filled out. Disable a crystalline cracked reptilian sphere in an acidic ancient otherworldly portal complex. So how about explorers have returned to Bodrov saying they found an ancient complex with acidic liquid all over it. With acidic liquid and ancient portals swirling with energy. They're growing in violent power and may either cause storms, they're already causing storms, or worse, open up into another world, unknown world. So I think that one's pretty cool. Discover a nano-laced swarming nanobot cryotank in a glyphed encapsulated avian datasphere. So where would this be? So I think Terrence recovered a canister from another job. It's sealed and filled with swarming nanobites. Nanites, right? There's a what do they call it? All right, we were just looking at that. There is a Datasphere interface, but Terrence is worried he wouldn't make it out if he went in alone. So you're jacking into the matrix, right? So he's saying like, hey, I can build an interface where all of you guys can go in there and you can run around the Datasphere and try to find out what this thing is. Try to learn more about what these nanites are. I think the avian part could be like the world that they enter is sort of an avian world. I think that works. 7 of 9 called she wants her nanites back. Right, you would think that like mucking around with, with a nanite box would be rough. So I think that those are the 3 jobs that they will take. Probably in today's session, they will actually choose one and get started. So I will probably have to scramble a little bit to come up with some stuff for this, right? It would have obviously been ideal. I mean, worst case, I can always, and I did this actually in my recent Wild Beyond the Witchlight game, is I called it early, right? When I realized where they were going and I realized I didn't have a lot for them to do, and I was like, I can just keep improvising, total seat in my pants. Or I could say, hey, why don't we, it was like a half hour early. And I said, why don't we call it today? And then I'll have more interesting things to do next time. It would be great if these jobs were all at the end of the session instead of in the middle of the session. So maybe we'll try to do more exploring around Bodrov and a little bit of kind of downtime before they take this job and go on the job. But then they'll select the job. I might talk to the players about that because I think it would be if I knew which one of these they were going to do and which one they were going to choose, I think that would work. It would be better if I was then able to fill that out more, if I knew next time what I was going to fill it out with, right? Than going completely, because either I could spend a lot of time filling out all 3 of these places, but they might not be interested in them. So I don't know. But so we can meet Terrence the Explorer, jobs, and then we could say downtime, right? Maybe we offer in Bodrov. That could be sort of the end, and then travel to the job, right? I think that could work. So here's something else I wanted to do today. Let's see. I don't need that. And that is, I want to try to come up with a bigger idea of like what's happening in the world. I don't have a theme for this campaign. I realized that when we were doing the session 0 notes last time. I don't know what the hell this campaign's about, right? It's like, well, we're playing Numenera, and that's fine, right? And hey, I've got jobs and I've got interesting NPCs. This is not bad. It's not a campaign, right? It is so far adventures. It is, it doesn't even have as much of a campaign as like Dragon of Icespire Peak has, and Dragon of Icespire Peak has barely anything. So I was trying to think of like what would be a cool campaign arc, right? And I'm making this up completely. Like it's just, this is my own campaign. I decided not to do a published setting that has something. So last evening, right before bed, I said, what are 10 possible big events that could occur? I think the idea of the campaign would be an event occurs, and the event is a big deal. And it matters to the factions that exist in the world. And it's going to matter to the characters, and it's a big thing. And so I came up with 10. Some of these I just pulled out of my ass, right? And then some of them I actually used the villain generator from the Lazy DM's Companion to spark ideas, right? One thing is like I use my own tools, so I don't just make stuff and throw it to you guys. These are things I like to use too. And so the villain generator actually really helped fire up my imagination on things. But I bet you I can start to combine a few of these. So I'll rip through them real quick. A silver sphere comes out of the sky. It's a herald for a much larger extraterrestrial construct that may threaten all the planet. Okay. A spire of jade pierces out of the ground nearby, warranting a new age for discovery. This is Jade Colossus. Like, could I throw Jade Colossus in here? Maybe. A dying construct. This is where I started rolling on the villain generator. A dying construct falls to the earth with a dire message. That's actually similar to number 1, and maybe we could kind of mix those together. 4, a herald proclaims the rise of the emperor of a 4th age, returning of the rise of the emperor of the 4th age. Herald proclaims the rise of the emperor of the 4th age returns and demands fealty. So like an old emperor is coming back saying we're in charge, right? And a herald kind of shows up to do this. A call from a trapped monstrosity brings cultists and knights alike to awaken or bury it back underground, right? So like something down below wants to rise up. Powerful Aeon priest wishing to prove herself begins to awaken ancient constructs with a tenuous connection. maybe, right? A being of great power wishes to step between worlds and enter our own. It has begun to form dark alliances in the Datasphere, right? A powerful crime lord seeks to rise in political power by blowing up temples in the end. An elder evil wishes to wipe clean the ninth age before it grows, thus causing another extinction. A vengeful villager wishes to devour everything by building an invincible army from the remnants of the past. So I think like these are all kind of interesting storylines, but I think there's like a few connections and there's a few things I like. I sort of like the silver sphere coming out of the sky. So like let's mash these up, right? So what do I like? I like the silver sphere coming out of the sky. And warns, it's a herald, right? Of catastrophic events. I like that one. And that one kind of covers 3, right? The dying construct falls to the earth. Is it dying? Is the sphere dying? I don't know. A herald proclaims the rise of the 4th emperor. I kind of like that one as that could be the same thing, right? A herald proclaims the rise of the 4th emperor who will rule for 1,000,000 years. As it did in the past, and demands fealty, right? I like the idea that the herald is a villager, right? Just a normal being, who is protected by powerful constructs. Maybe this, a kind of the 4th emperor wishes to clean the slate for a new age. The 4th emperor is otherworldly. So it didn't come from Earth, right? It's not a person. It's this being of great power that can step between worlds. I like that. It is a trapped monstrosity. It brings the 4th emperor, brings both cultists, and knights, and opposing knights. Yeah, I kind of like that. It's Galactus, right? It's this idea that Galactus is coming. I think it's kind of cool to both worship and thwart the coming. Is there anything else from here? Spyra Jade, nah. Herald Proclaim, yes. Trap Monstrosity, yes. There could be a splinter group of Aeon Priests. I believe the 4th Emperor can bring great advancement and prosperity to the world, right? So there's a splinter group of Aeon Priests and began rising machines in its service. That's cool. Crime Lord, nah, don't care. I think, so I think this covers a lot of what we got. And so, just while I'm talking here, I like this idea of the rise of the 4th Emperor, right? An otherworldly being, wishes to return to the world and create a new age, wiping out the 9th age before it even began. I think that's pretty cool, right? I think the idea that the 4th emperor is this entity, right? And I like the idea that it exists both physically in this world, spiritually in the outside, and even has part of it that exists inside of the Datasphere, right? The 4th emperor has traversed the physical world, the outside, and even the Datasphere. So think about like a cybernetic Cthulhu, right? A cyborg Cthulhu. I like that. These are kind of cool. This feels pretty cool to me, right? I think I'm digging this. So I like the idea that, it will probably have multiple heralds, right? And I think its first herald is going to be a villager. And maybe, that could be kind of a fun, like, how did the villager become this way? So let's make a new NPC. We'll go to my NPCs and factions page here. We'll see if I can find a picture of somebody that looks like how about this person here? Because she's got like a glowy eye thing, right? So maybe it won't be a villager. Let's see if there's anybody else. I think that works pretty well. I need more NPC pictures. I'm gonna run out of NPC pictures. Oh, I guess she went right to the top when I click that. Right. So now we have Kimli, Herald of the Fourth Emperor, and the idea is like I think that Kimli was probably an explorer, right? So Kimli was an explorer who found a similar canister to the one Terrence wants the characters to explore. She found the canister out near the acidic portals. So now we've got reasons to do, I can't spell canister apparently. So now we've got a way to kind of connect all three of these jobs, right? Although I guess what's the ship? I don't know. I love that sword one, right? But there could be a connection between those pools. What other? Kimli might have been transformed. Yeah, Kimli opened her nanite canister, and soon afterward began to preach about the return of the fourth emperor. Kimli doesn't appear to be a danger to herself or others. I think she's the first herald, right? Because I think we're gonna have multiple heralds. Doesn't appear to be a danger to herself or others, so the town folk of Badrav leave her to herself and largely ignore her proclamations. The knights, the Angulan knights worry, and actually it's, what's her name of the Angulan knights? The backlinks, McKenna, right? McKenna, the Angulan knight, worries that Kimli might be onto something and is interested in explorers traveling to the acidic portals to find out what's there. She worries about incursions by nasty otherworldly creatures. That's very cool. What else? I think at some point the second. Oh, so there's a meteor. There's a celestial object orbiting the planet that seems to be getting closer. It moves very fast, but has yet to hit the atmosphere. What else? Little is known about the Fourth Age, but there is some ancient lore describes an otherworldly being that ruled over all life on the planet for nearly 1,000,000 years and then disappeared, along with almost everything over which it ruled. All right, so that's kind of cool. Do we have anything about the blade? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need 3 more secrets, and then we'll probably call it a day at that point, because my locations are fine. I don't need locations. NPCs, I need Terrence. I need Terrence the Explorer. McKenna. Monsters, we have that. Where is it? The Latos Adjunct. What I could do, save myself a click. I've got so many books to read. I can just go boop. It might be too big though. Notion doesn't like. Never mind. I'll just look at that book. All right. What else? So there's something about the discovery of the artifact that they found below that I'd like to, could I tie that into this as well? I guess it could be a very advanced, the pieces of the artifact, the adjunct tried to fix are pieces of a very advanced Datasphere interface. Good enough. What age did the adjunct and the Latos and the adjunct, did they come from a particular age? And what is their involvement? Is the things that they found below, is their involvement there that can tie into the fourth emperor? I mean, it's a lot of coincidence, right, if it was. But, you know, doesn't mean it can't happen. The fourth emperor is said, did I already have this one? Is said to exist across worlds simultaneously. All right. That's pretty cool. One last secret. Oh, I need a final secret. It'd be kind of cool to have a bigger secret of the... how about entire civilizations have existed and may still exist beneath the waves. Captain Aramis Greystone sought to discover these worlds until something destroyed his vessel, which is basically a fancy submarine, right? So that is pretty cool. Yeah, so I've got a fair bit of secrets, and I guess like meeting people and exploring the city of Bodrov can be a good piece. I'm wondering, like, I don't feel like I have enough material to fill out an entire session. And part of it is that I have these quests, but I don't really want to fill them out, right? So I think that's fine. I think they have an opportunity to explore Bodrov, which will be fine, and meet the other NPCs, right? They can meet McKenna, Maeve, McKenna. I think that works. There she is. Right, so that covers the three. I had sort of three kind of friendly-ish NPCs. I have some other ones too, like people that rule over, or not rule over, people that exist in the town. But I'll fill those out as I go. Treasure, I like rolling on the cipher table, so I think that's cool. And monsters, I don't really need to have monsters planned out. So I've got a fair bit of stuff. I wish I had more to fill in these locations. Like if they actually go there, what kind of stuff do they see? And I guess, let's see. Yeah, with a couple of minutes, let's go to our friend Dyson Logos. And I'm looking for a couple of maps, right? So one of them would be this, let's see, I guess the locations are, if I was going to do 3 locations for this, I would have Greystone's submarine. I would have, that's funny, I have a map that I use for ships that I use all the time. So I have Greystone's submarine. I have the acid portals, right? Everyone wants to go there. And then we have like the data spheres, right? The avian data sphere. So one of the ones that I can use, and I use it all the time, but it works great. Like this is one of those, like, keep some maps on hand. Here's a final tip for the day. Keep some maps on hand. I tried to do this with the companion, right? Both the companion and the workbook have a lot of different maps that you can just draw out of things. One map it doesn't have, and now I think about it, like, it would be nice to have a map for that, would be a ship. A complicated, like a ship dungeon, right? But luckily we have one that we can steal from Ghost of Saltmarsh. I have used this map, I don't know how many times. I've used it a lot because it's like, it's one I know. I think it's Salvage Operation. Yeah. So this map works really well as as your generic ship map, right? So I mean, maybe I could do better than that. But like, hey, for 2 minutes work, it is pretty funny. It's called the Emperor of the Waves. Maybe we'll call that funny that. So that's fine. Then I love how Numenera updates the link titles. So then we need the acid pools, right? Put that in the database, and let's take a look at what Dyson's got for that. So this one's not so bad, right? So my key is, like, you go to Dyson Maps and you just start scrolling down till you find one that serves, right? And I'm not going to be super particular. It needs to have pools. That would be great. But boy, like any of these work, that's what's so funny about like this kind of stuff is like, this is kind of cool. Oakland Cove monoliths. Let's see. Let's open this up here. And the fact that it's got these like room constructs works out pretty well because they can just have, pools you can add to any map. That's true. It's not bad. I'll take it. Let's see if I can paste that in here. I don't think it worked. Embed the image. There it goes. All right. And then the third was, so Dataspheres is harder, right? Like a map for Dataspheres. What do I have in mind for that? And what I have in mind is I need like segments. I need like, especially if it's an avian, I think like in EverQuest, back when I played EverQuest, there was the plane of air. Let's see. And the plane of air was just a whole bunch of connected, platforms, and this kind of thing could actually work where like, I guess it's plane of sky. It's the idea that it sort of floats, right? It's floating. The various islands are all sort of floating, and they each sort of have their own. That's pretty good. We're gonna grab that. Thank you, EverQuest person. And there we go. I kind of dig it. And then you could have little. Maybe there's kind of dungeons on top of these places. So we'll grab a couple of small ones maybe. Dyson has these like little small, like this one's pretty cool. Like, I'll grab that. That's pretty cool. Towers and things like that. These are like visual, sort of representations of, metaphors that exist in the Datasphere. So now I have a bunch of maps, right? That I just grabbed right off of Dyson. This is like, Dyson's the best, right? And the idea that I can sort of build my campaign out just by doing that. And now I've got 3 locations. So that's probably enough. If they did decide to go there, now at least I've got maps to go there. And I could sort of skim through bestiaries and stuff like that and find interesting things for them to discover. It'd be a little bit of a scramble, no doubt. But there we go. I think if I had a little bit more time, I would figure out what that blade is. But again, I'll figure out treasure once I know where they're going because I don't have to give them the treasure right now. One other thing that I didn't get to talk about today, and I guess I'm going to have to talk about next week, because, oh my God, we're late, is how experience points work. Experience points in Numenera are a really weird thing. So we're going to just try it out today, and I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to talk about that more next week. So remind me to talk about experience points next week, because they are a very important and very tricky bit of Numenera that sets it apart. The whole idea of GM intrusions and earning experience points and how you spend experience points and the kinds of things you can buy with experience points, very different than kind of other RPGs. So we're going to talk about that. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me today. Always a great pleasure to have people to hang out with while I'm preparing for my game. If you enjoyed this show, you can help me out by subscribing to the Sly Flourish newsletter, supporting me directly on Patreon, subscribing to my videos on YouTube, or picking up any of my books. Many of the books that I used, many of the tables and charts that I used to help generate my game today came from the Lazy DM's Companion, which you can now buy in PDF. I also came from the Uncovered Secrets Volume 1 and 2, which are available to patron supporters of Sly Flourish. So thank you all very much. Have a great day, and get out there and play your favorite RPG of choice.